No, everything's been positive so far.
What are your thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings this year?
A really good football team. You know, obviously they lost their quarterback. They're playing outstanding when he went down. Found ways to continue to win even after that. You know, they got to step up, play well. They've got a lot of talent on offense and on defense. And so, again, they've just found ways to win. And they're still in the hunt over there on the NFC side. And so they've got a lot to play for. And so it'll be a difficult game for us on Saturday.
You alluded to it after the game, Karras' block on Chase's screen pass touchdown. When you saw it on film, was it even more impressive to see it? Because, I mean, it looks like he kind of peeled back and just got enough of the guy to spring him.
Yeah. It was how I saw it. You know, we get the pictures live as well, and so you can see it. And I mean, those are things that typically we're aware of during the week that are going to be critical. And I thought their nickel was a great player, and he was the guy that I was most concerned about on the screens. And so we made a big point of emphasis to make sure we got him covered up, or just tried to run away from him when we could. And so, but it was a great block by him, and it was a great job in space. You saw Cordell and you saw Alex running down there in space. It was good to see by everybody.
How much does Jake's success, play action, bootleg stuff tie back to his days in Minnesota versus you?
You'd have to ask him that. I think he's got experience in a lot of different styles of offense, and Jake's just a good football player overall. So whether he dropped back and played that way or did play actions and nakeds, I think he's got the ability. He's played a lot of football in his life, high school, college. Again, I think that's valuable for guys to have all that game experience, and he's got all that.
When Trey has a penalty like he has in that game do you say anything to him, or do you let Lou handle that?
I'll let Trey answer that question. I think everybody got a little piece of him on that one, and it was a good therapy session, and then we all just rebounded and moved on to the next play.
Is there anything to some added incentive to kind of make up for it? Because he was unbelievable after that.
He's as competitive as they come. You know, and so again, he's playing through the whistle on every single play. Sometimes it doesn't go our way. I know that he owned up to it very quickly and moved on. And does he continue to play with an extra chip on his shoulder because of that? He wants to make it for. I think he plays with a pretty big chip on his shoulder every play, regardless. So that's all I got.
Have you ever had a pretty good feeling heading into a play, thinking like Trey's going to get a sack here? Has there ever been a moment like that?
You know, that's a little harder for me on that side of the ball to really be able to process it like that quickly. Usually I'm listening to the call from Lou. He's the one who knows what call's coming. You got to listen, and sometimes it's harder for me to hear through the headset on the call. So you're reacting to what are all the adjustments they're making. The defensive guys see that so much faster than I do. So it's hard for me to predict. I mean, I know, trust me, I know a lot of our calls, and I know when someone's going to get a piece of somebody, but I can't always predict the individual player like that.
You've game playing against guys like Watt and Garrett. He's clearly one of those guys. What does that do to the play calling when you have a force like that? What does that do?
Yeah, you got to pay attention to him. You got to pay a lot of attention to him. It creates opportunities for other guys as well. Because you get a lot of other one-on-one matchups elsewhere. But there's, Trey is an elite pass rusher and requires a lot of attention.
What stands out to you or characteristics have you noticed over the years with the Brian Flores defense?
They like to pressure. You know, there's a lot of pressure involved.
They think anything more than that pressure from different places?
No, I mean it's pretty well. You know, we played them in the Super Bowl in New England a couple years ago. Played him a couple times in Miami. He was in Pittsburgh last year, and now we got him now. So I think that pretty well seems to be the theme.
They don't just lead the league in blitz percentage; they lead the league in dropping 8. I mean, it's just a weird kind of. I mean, what kind of challenge does that present?
Yeah, I mean they try to give the illusion everything looks the same. You know, and so you got to make your adjustments and. So that's usually their plan.
How big would it be for y'all to get 3 wins in a row this time of year, with the stakes and what they are? I mean, how much is that kind of on top of mind, or are you cognizant of as you go into this game?
I think it's 1 win in a row for us. You know, it's you kind of shave off everything that's happened and ignore it. And now Sure, you can. I'm sure there's plenty of people that look at it as a 4-game season going forward, but you just have to take it step by step. And so again, can't control anything that just happened, whether we had won or lost. Now all you can control is what's right in front of you, and this is a big one that we really need. I'm sure that they feel the exact same way, and so it's just really the way the league is set up this year. It's interesting for the fans. It keeps everybody involved, and everyone's got a lot to play for. And I think ultimately we're in a position, Minnesota, I think, is in a position where just keep controlling what you can control and good things will happen. And so Saturday is the first step for us, it feels like.
We've seen Jake, the last couple of games have poise in key spots and key situations. How impressive has that been for a guy who hasn't had a lot of on-field reps to be able to do that in those kind of moments with the season the way it is for you?
Just preparation by him, and so I think when guys have put in the preparation and are ready when their number's called, they're at peace with how things go, good or bad, because they've prepared and they're ready for it. And so again, I'm sure there's plenty of backups that prepare for a good portion. Okay, I'm not, it's this week, take a week off, and bam, their number's called, and that might be the end of their career because of a bad performance. And so Jake has done the opposite. Jake's just stayed ready. His number was called, starting with that first completion against Baltimore on a naked. He's continued just to show confidence and allowed us to have confidence, the team to have confidence with just how he's prepared and carried himself. And I expect this week to be no different.
Speaking of confidence, when your numbers called, kind of your impressions when A.J. McCarron walks into the game and kind of how he handled that drive?
Yeah, very similar. Very, very poised. Confident in our brief. There wasn't a lot of time for chit-chat there because we were trying to assess how long is this injury. Should I call a timeout? Before, what could be a key third down and allow the cramp to subside. There's no prediction on that. Jake couldn't give me a great answer in the 1 second I needed the answer. Do I call timeout or do I just get a new quarterback in? And I think Jake just laughed, like, how do I know? And so we rolled with it, and quick communication with AJ. He handled it down well. The front side of the progression was blanketed. There was nobody there. He found a check down. And so, again, we punted it, and then I think that's when they dropped the punt and put some points on the board. So I thought A.J. went in there and handled it well.
I know,
And he had 15 seconds on the play clock, so Jake came out, and there was 15 seconds on the clock, and you got to break the huddle and get the motion, and that's not easy.
how, you're at your third quarterback. This is a guy who's started games, who's played a lot of games. How much, I know you guys, didn't score a touchdown or do anything crazy on that drive, but how much can you even feel that, or important is that when you have a guy like that?
Yeah, it's important, when a guy goes in that has experience. And so AJ doesn't have a lot of experience here in our system with our players necessarily, but he's got experience playing a lot of football, whether it was in the XFL last year or all the years that he played in the NFL. And so there's confidence there that this guy can go in and this isn't foreign to him. I mean, he's a 2-time national champion. He's done a lot of great things in his career, and so there's confidence that comes with that this guy's ready to go.
You don't think of it this way in the moment, but like you're happy for a guy who, last game 2020 kind of took the long road back to get back in the big game.
I didn't put a lot of thought into that. Maybe I'm too cold-hearted that way, but it is cool. I've really enjoyed my time around AJ in the short time. I did not know him before. I never met him. Really enjoyed having him around. He's a really good veteran presence. I think he brings a lot to that quarterback room. I think that's greatly appreciated by the coaches and the players in that room. And so then for him to get an opportunity, if you're asking me now, to reflect back, I think it's pretty cool. And, his family was here. Maybe it was the first time they'd been back since he came back. I saw his sons in there shooting baskets on Saturday morning. So I'm sure all around it was pretty cool for all of them to see.
You didn't bat him out. You called the pass. You called the guy had thrown a pass in a pile.
Yeah.
You called the pass. You didn't bat him out. You obviously had confidence he wasn't going to screw it up.
Yeah, I prefer not to think that way, where someone's going to screw. It's if the guy's on a roster, at this point, just where everything is, we've got confidence in everyone to go in there and an expectation for everyone to go in there and execute. And it is different for a quarterback to go in there when it's cold, when it's sleeting, when you haven't had a chance to warm up and throw a pass. That is maybe a little bit different than a player at another position jumping in there and doing something. But again, I thought AJ handled that well.
He laughed about it after the game, but did you remind, or was there a conversation after the game or yesterday, whenever, about hydration?
No. I honestly, for me, it hasn't even come up in conversation since ever, maybe. I mean, it happened during the game, and I haven't. That's on Jake to drink more Gatorade. I think so. Clark Harris used to say to some guys that would cramp up.
When you look at what y'all have done over the last couple of years in December, you've all been able to go from maybe, especially in 21, being on the fringe of being a playoff team and securing that spot. What is the key for a team to be able to handle the pressure and the stakes in this late in the year and be able to play well?
I think the biggest thing is the team doesn't feel pressure. They just are going to go out and, just like we're talking about with Jake, prepare. And then when you prepare, there's just confidence that comes with that. It doesn't matter who we're playing. And so we don't change anything. We've geared our practices to get us to this point in December, to be healthy, to try to hit our peak at the most critical moment. I think that's how our team feels right now. And so we don't need to do anything extra. We don't need to feel any pressure. You can let the talk be whatever the talk needs to be about must-win games and all that. These guys just need to go out there and prepare and meet like we always have, and I trust that they're going to do that.
You mentioned the camaraderie with the offensive line. What do you like the most out of that group the last 2 weeks?
Well, everything. But it's not just the last 2 weeks. I feel that. Again, there's been a lot of positive things that group has done over the course of the season, and I look back against Pittsburgh. That's one of the best pass rushing defensive lines in the league. 3 sacks. I don't put any of them on them, and so they get the heat for that. That's just the way it goes. But so it's hard for me to answer questions like that when I feel like there's been a lot of positive things they've done that maybe they don't get the credit for over the course of the season, and just because we win 2 games, they start to get credit. No, they've gotten positive marks from us for a lot of things that they've done over time.
He caught the potential the OPI and the potential touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that a few of those things with him this year. Is there a coaching point or something you say to him? Are you just different with your hands? Or
Yeah, it's really difficult being a big body that he is. It's sometimes it can appear that he's creating separation. Sometimes some guys can make it appear that he's created separation. Sometimes, with just a hand touching a back can make it, as both guys go up, it can look like that. So I understand the call when you watch it. I understand it. It's he's got to do what's best to go up and get the ball and try not to use his body to create that leverage or anything like that. And it's tough. You don't want to just sit there and overcoach it just for the sake of overcoaching it. Sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't.
Right or wrong, Zach, there were, I'm sure, plenty of people who didn't think in Week 15 this team would be here in contention after Joe got hurt. We've seen this group before back 2 years ago when people didn't think this group could, and they really relished that role. Do you think this group likes the role they're in right now, or people don't think they can do it and they like proving people wrong?
I think they like the grind of the season. That's what matters in this league. I've been around a lot of teams in my life. Sometimes you could feel fizzle out as the season went on. Hey, let's get to vacation. Let's do this and that. This team, I've never felt that once. And in these last couple of years with these guys, they just want to keep playing football. They like the time in the locker room, spend around each other, and that matters when you get to December 12th. We've been at this thing since July 25th, every single day in this building, every day working. And it's a team that loves the grind, and that matters when you're at the hairy point in the season, and you need to continue just to put your best foot forward, and that's what these guys are about.
How different has this season been for you personally in terms of having to get a backup quarterback ready to go, and then now, getting 2 wins with him? Has it been different for you as a coach, and have you grown at all from this experience?
I think every season teaches you certain lessons. You take a lot from every single season. They all feel a little bit different. They all feel, seasons are certainly segmented in certain ways. Could be injury-oriented, could be opponent, or whatever it is. So it's hard to compare this season to a previous season. I feel like I've learned a lot. What can I share right now that I've learned? I can't say that out loud. I have to really sit and think about it. But you can feel yourself evolve. You can feel the team evolve as the season goes, and just you want to put yourself you always want to put yourself in a position to be able to win the division here down the stretch. Okay, that might be out of our control, but we're still in a position to do some really good things, and you guys feel that, and so there's a lot of excitement left in our locker room.
Some coaches say that every season is different. What you did 2 years ago doesn't matter. What you did last year doesn't matter. how do you feel about the fact that you guys have been 7-6 or went on a big run last year and still made the playoffs? Does it matter?
Well, I think when coaches say that, there's players that leave, when players that change, and so the team can't always take credit for maybe big plays that Jesse and Vaughn made for us in the AFC Championship game a couple years ago. And so you're always careful to say just because of that team did that this team's going to do this. Every team's got to grow together in its own way. But I do think there are certainly things you can pull from. We've been in similar positions, a lot of guys on this team, and they understand not to look ahead. Let's not look ahead to 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. We have to focus on this one because if you don't get this one, then those games may not matter. And so the guys have been in this position enough to know that every game is critical, and you just got to take it 1 week at a time and keep yourselves in it, and then good things can happen over these next 2 months. But that's the attitude this team's got, and our veteran guys do a great job of making sure everybody understands that.
It's interesting too, Zach, you used the word excitement. Even the days right after the announcement that Joe was out for the season about this team, that this team could do something like this. Do you feel vindicated? Sitting here
No.
after seeing for a couple of weeks that you were right. This team still does.
No, I'm always right. But no, I'm just kidding. No, it's just we have a lot of talent on this team. We have a lot of leadership on this team. I think Joe Burrow's one of the greatest players to walk this earth. But we still do have other great players that can step up and help us win football games. And so that's what we needed from this team, and they've risen to the occasion. I wouldn't even say they've risen. They just continue to play good football like they've always done. And I just think of all the elite players we've got, and they just continue to rally around each other and make plays and find ways to win games, and we got to do it again this week.
They've got some uncertainty at quarterback. You've got the home field advantage this week. What are you looking for?
Thank you, Dan. I like this. I'm looking for I'm glad you reminded me of that. But They do. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They've got some injuries up front on the offensive line as well, and so I do think it's critical. I try to think of it this way: if the person 3 seats down from you in the row can't hear you, then you're doing a good job. Okay, and so that's essentially what the quarterback's dealing with as he's trying to communicate with a tackle, make a last-second communication to the receiver. If they can't hear him, they can't make that check, and so it's critical in a December game like this with a team coming on the road against us that third downs in particular, that's where the communication is really stressed, but every down. So I do challenge our fans. We got outstanding fans to drink one more drink and rush in the stadium and be as loud as you can humanly possibly be when Minnesota's offense is out there and help our guys. And that is a critical element that we get this home field advantage. We're not playing on the road this week. If we were playing in Minnesota, it would be a real problem. And so Minnesota's here. Let's make it a real problem for them.
Mixon and Chase Brown, kind of a stereotypical thunder and lightning combo in the backfield. How significant is that really to a defense to have to deal with two very different styles?
Yeah, I think it's helpful anytime you've got multiple weapons on offense. I don't think it just has to be the running back position. I think it's any variation of skill level, speed at all the positions that they have to account for, whether that's Jamar Chase or Chase Brown or anybody that's got the speed like that. You just got to be creative and continue to find ways to use them, and that's our biggest problem is we have a lot of playmakers. How do you keep them all involved? How do you get them all the ball? How do you stress the defense every which way? I think the beauty of how it's fallen for us with our quarterbacks is they just find the open guy and they get the ball to him, and so we don't ever really force the ball to somebody. We just let it take shape because we got so many playmakers that we're comfortable with whoever ends up with the ball in their hands, and that's just kind of the way it's played out.
Do you watch what Chase Brown's done in the last 2 games and your first thought not be, why didn't we do this earlier? Why didn't he play earlier? Do you allow yourself, is that a thought that goes into your head?
No, I mean there's reasons for everything, and again we were at a point where we were really getting him cranked up, whatever game it was. And then he got injured in that practice. And so when I tell you we were putting a lot on his plate that week, And so there was 4 weeks, and then the Pittsburgh game was his first practice, so it was a little difficult to know how he hadn't practiced yet with the hamstring. And then we got him involved in the last 2 weeks. That's just the way it goes. And, again, he's done a great job making the most of his opportunities, and certainly it's helped us as an offense.
Has it gotten you guys creatively thinking about are some other corners of the playbook we can hit now that we've kind of seen a few of these things, and maybe other teams have seen those, and you can play off that sort of a counter to what you should.
There's always an element of that. There's always, I mean, the screen we hit last week for the touchdown was he had gotten that carry against Jacksonville and cut it back for 2 long runs off the same action, the same motion, all the same stuff. And so that's always a part of our plan to try to utilize that. We threw a ball to TB that was off the same motion, the same action. I think on the 4th play of the game. So again, this is what we do, and we try our best to complement it all, and whether it's noticed or not, and find ways to continue to utilize all the talent we've got, and that's just a big part of what we got to continue to do.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.